Hey everyone, welcome to the Village Films podcast. I'm Caleb, and as always, I'm joined by David. And today we're going to talk about AI.
This is just my opinion. I'm a filmmaker.
Are you guys videographers?
Who cares?
All right, this is a topic that keeps coming up a lot, obviously, especially in our industry, but I think all creative industries, filmmaking, especially like design, industries that are heavy on like things that can be automated. And obviously just the AI, I think the AI conversation just in general in our world right now, like as humans, is like kind of a larger conversation. So maybe up front we could just kind of talk about like our kind of perspective on it. Not necessarily, I think, in filmmaking, but just kind of in general, like what's your view on AI? Like what's your stance? It doesn't really have to be like a...
I like some of the AI tools that are coming out because it's made my life easier. Like I use ChatGPT for a lot of stuff. It just cuts through a lot of like the nuanced things that you have to do. So I mean, I think there's definitely like benefits to it, but specifically for us in our industry, I think there's like two types of like AI, well, at least what I can see, two types of AI features, which is like there's the AI side of things when it comes to like post-production editing. That's just like enhancing the editing software, making it easier to like edit things and add animations or correct things or whatever it may be. But I think the AI that's disrupting the industry right now is this idea of a computer-generated artificial intelligence, whatever you want to call it, creating stories, creating the scripts, creating
out of thin air,
the animations, all out of thin air.
Well, so there's a lot of layers to this. So I mean, like you were saying, I use ChatGPT instead of Google now.
Oh yeah.
Like if I was gonna Google something, I'll just go to Chat now, and just like in just normal life, it's very useful. Like I'll say like, hey, give me X number of healthy meals and like give me a grocery list for that, and like you can take that to the store and that saves you so much time. But like things like that are really cool. But I think where the discourse happens is like you're saying, where things start infringing on like, okay, is this AI model actually stealing work and saying that they're copying a style, but really it's more like they're infringing on a copyright. And the way I have it kind of formatted here is it's kind of split into three areas. Basically, AI as it relates to screenwriting, AI as it relates to CGI, obviously, and then like you were saying, AI more on the just editing and post-production. So before we dive too deep in it, I want to just read these quotes from people that everyone knows, the famous people in our industry, because I would say, and you would probably agree with me, the overwhelming majority of creators, people like us directors, are not super in favor of how AI has kind of trying to take foothold. So Quentin Tarantino says, this is very Tarantino. He says, AI doesn't have childhood trauma, heartbreak, or passion. That's what makes a great writer, in reference to screenwriting. Charlie Kaufman says, AI scripts feel like regurgitated cliches. Creativity can't be automated. Aaron Sorkin, one of the greatest writers of our generation, if AI ever writes a good West Wing episode, then I'll be worried, but I'm not. So maybe let's just talk about first just like the screenwriting aspect, because I think it's pretty obvious if you go into Chat and you just say, write me a movie about two guys that rob a bank and they get away and blah blah blah. What it's going to generate for you is going to be the most generic thing without any soul to it, because all it can do is just copy everything that's out there. So like
Right.
maybe just talk about, like you were saying the other day, like how the emptiness you feel when you read something like a script that is completely AI.
Yeah, I think like when really great writers, like something Tarantino said, where it's like he writes based off of childhood trauma. I think there's like this invisible element to writing that it like comes from your deepest passion, and maybe even like the deepest parts of your soul come out and reflect that. And so when people hear those words ordered in a specific way, written by a specific person, it's like their emotions are being attached to their screenplay. So when you're watching it on the big screen, you're like, I'm feeling those emotions. I'm feeling the words versus just like this empty void of any type of passion. I think that's what AI generates. It just because it's like a soulless being trying to create something. Not to get so spiritual.
The best stories come from like lived human experience. And I think when it comes to screenwriting, like I think it's one of those areas where if we move beyond just like tools to help enhance what we can do, and we're just inputting prompts into a generator and trying to get a whole script, I think that's where it's going to crash. But if you're like, hey, I need to automate this specific thing, like it has to be just a tool. Like, and yeah, I think screenwriting is just, you're never going to sell me on like an AI, because AI can't write books. Like,
well, and AI is always pulling its information, its screenwriting capabilities from other works of art. Like you said, previously, is that infringement upon someone else's copyrighted material, because it really is just regurgitating what's already out there.
Yeah. Well, and that's what really, that what you just said about copyright is what made me want to go ahead and dive into this episode, because of something that happened recently. And I found this article. So there's that trend that went around recently of the Studio Ghibli style, and everything, everyone was putting into the prompt this thing in Studio Ghibli style. And people kind of started to say like, hey, this really feels more like just a copyright infringement, because
Is that the thing Caravan shared on his social
I'm not
media
sure.
the other day? They shared this like Instagram video.
It's this right here. This style right here. So you've seen that.
That's not it.
So that started happening. It was everywhere on social media, but people were like, that the Studio Ghibli animation style is so unique and specific to them as creators, that this really feels more like the AI is just reaching and just copying exactly what they do. And that's copyright infringement. And so in the normal world of art and technology and film and stuff, you can't do that.
Who's the guy? Is it Altman?
Sam Altman.
Sam Altman. Didn't he say like there's something going on about
That's
this
what I was
topic?
getting to.
Okay.
That kind of started this conversation of like, hey, is AI actually, is it okay to say they're copying this style, or is this really just they're copyright infringing on all of these existing works? And so the founder of ChatGPT said, because they're starting to get pressed with lawsuits now, and he basically came out and straight up said, if we aren't able to pull and copy from all existing works, we have nothing. And then people were like, well, maybe that shouldn't exist. The AI image generating thing shouldn't exist. And so now we're like, wait. And so I wanna read some of this article, because it was really interesting, because it's just talking about what happened with Studio Ghibli. But it's basically saying generative AI systems don't store information. Instead, they encode text or image fragments and use patterns or styles. That's a really important word, styles, within their neural networks. But the controversy came because it says, while the ability to work with styles is what makes generative AI so powerful, it's also at the heart of growing controversy. For many artists, there's something deeply unsettling about seeing their distinctive artistic approaches reduced to just another style that anyone can apply with a simple text prompt. And I'm going to butcher this name, but I'm going to try. Hayao Miyazaki, who I guess is the Studio Ghibli head, has not publicly commented on the recent trend of the Studio Ghibli AI, but he has been critical of AI previously. And so basically, all of this is raising questions about copyright and creative ownership. And traditionally, copyright law doesn't protect styles because, I mean, that would be like, this style of music. I own this style of music, so you can't do it. That wouldn't make any sense.
Well, but like great directors, they even admit in a lot of their previous works how they were inspired by a certain director that they grew up admiring to create another type of work. But there you could see the similarity either in the cinematography or the way it was written or the way it was choreographed. It was like they were inspired by another creator to take their own spin on it, but it wasn't like a direct copycat,
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is like there's such a big difference between just copying someone and being inspired by and creating your own thing. And I think as humans, it's, especially when it comes to making a movie, it's like if I love the movie Jaws and I want to go out and make my own Jaws, even if my goal is to copy Jaws exactly, like it's not going to be the same as the original Jaws because it's almost impossible to create the same thing. It's just going to be different. And I shouldn't set out to just copy that movie anyways. Yeah. But if I'm creating a movie inspired by Jaws, the difference is if AI watched Jaws and I said, create me a movie like Jaws, it's going to be exactly like Jaws because it can't pull from anything else within. It's just pulling from what exists. And so that's kind of at the heart of this conversation of the copyright laws. And while people are saying, hey, all this stuff that the AI is using to generate what people are inputting is not really gonna, like, this feels like we're infringing into another area. And so that kind of leads into the post-production CGI thing, which is where I want to talk about the article you found. But I want to read these other quotes from some other filmmakers more related to the post side. Christopher Nolan, who notably doesn't like CGI anyways, he said, AI will never replace the craftsmanship of practical effects. Of course, he would say that. James Cameron said, AI is a tool, but relying on it too much will make movies soulless. Couldn't agree more. Industrial Light and Magic, who's one of the largest visual effects companies in the world. They've done Star Wars. They've done everything. They've spoken out. I don't have a direct quote, but they've spoken out publicly against AI, saying that it replaces human artistry in CGI. Because, if you're taking a visual effects developer and you're firing them and you're replacing them with a computer, you've just taken the human element out of that technology.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese, director of the great Kool-Aid film, said, editing is about intuition. AI can't replicate that. David Fincher said, David Fincher, known for precision editing, has expressed skepticism about AI making artistic choices. And so I could find probably 1,000 more quotes of filmmakers saying stuff like that. But
yeah,
I think,
you can also argue like these are people in the industry where AI could potentially affect the livelihoods of everyone in this industry, and you're talking billions of dollars worth of job and employment security just evaporate overnight because it's being replaced by a machine. And all of a sudden it's like your creative industry can just kind of implode on itself because of it. So I know there's definitely like some fear coming from the industry because they can kind of see what's coming, and they're like, we need to kind of fight this while we can. And I'm all for it. Like I don't think computers should ever replace human creativity, because I think that's just something that, like, I haven't seen it work, and I don't know if it would work, but a lot of the guys that are pro AI and are building this technology, they keep saying, give it another decade, it'll be indistinguishable. Like, give it another 10 years, and we'll be right there, and you won't be able to tell the difference, which is kind of scary. And you were even talking about the other day, it's like, I feel like when you create something that's AI generated, you need to have like a thumbnail at the bottom, basically disclaiming, hey, this is AI generated.
Yeah, well, it's like you just said, like they would say in 10 years it'll be indistinguishable. But I'm just like, let's step back. It's like, why are we doing this? Why do we feel the need that we need to automate everything and make everything faster and just churn out more content? Because it's not going to make the content better. It's just going to make we're just going to have more quantity, and it's just going to be content that feels a little less soulless. And so,
well, so that's fully automated AI. It's like you prompt it and it creates something. But there's another side of people so the article I read just recently, one of the things that they're talking about is AI is just going to be a tool to give access to human creatives to basically prompt something and create it without having, like, so they're like, if you have a script or a screenplay that you love, that you wrote, and you want it to come alive, but you don't have $10 million to finance it, but you have $500,000, that will be the cost that's involved. And they said it's not fully AI generated. You're still working with real animators. You're still working with real, special effects artists and things like that. But AI is doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, but the image is still completely AI generated, right?
Yeah, but that's what they're saying. Give us another 10 years and you won't be able to tell the difference.
I think that's the problem.
So that's kind of scary. They're using real talent too. They said they're like, we need them to have the voiceover and then the facial expressions, but they're still going to use AI to basically copy the look of that.
That's my thing. It's like, why do we need to do all of that when we can just use
Cost
real
less
actors?
money.
Yeah, but I'm like, the quote that guy said in that article where he's like, we want to do this so movies like Moonlight can get made. And you're just like,
I'll read
so
that.
You're going to use the example of Moonlight, an Oscar-winning film that used zero AI, as an example.
And it won an Oscar for Best Picture, right?
As an example that we need to use AI in filmmaking. Just like him saying that contradicted the point he was trying to drive across. So I didn't understand like why he would say that. Dude, the first thing the guy says in this article, you almost lose me, because he says, his name's Brett Stewart from Staircase Studios. The best stories come from artists, and these tools that are empowering, and these tools are empowering them, not replacing them. But it's like he's developing this technology that is replacing artists. It's like he doesn't know.
Well, I think he's probably just thinking it's another arm of it. Like, he stressed that Staircase isn't looking to make huge blockbusters or threaten the livelihood of stars and crew. Rather, he said the studio will offer an avenue for the production of more stories like Moonlight, which won the Oscar for Best Picture and had a budget of just $1.5 million, and make meaningful movies that might have limited commercial potential. In quotes, he said, "We can make something that is a little bit cheaper for a smaller audience." He said, "Here's a chance to tell these really phenomenal stories that otherwise would have fallen through the cracks." So
I don't know,
I
man.
get where he's coming from, but it's like you still, I think what he's doing, if that was it, like the progression stopped at that, like he's just in his mind, he's like, I'm using AI as a tool to basically enhance the voices of other creatives. I guess that could be fine, because I remember Ashton Kutcher saying he was like, I think he was a part of some type of studio. Maybe it was Staircase, but he was saying like you could prompt a scene and it would create that scene, and it was like lifelike. And he said, he says like 5 years, 10 years down the road, it's going to be like where a 15-year-old kid can get onto this for the price of a HBO subscription and basically make an entire screenplay and feature film right there on his laptop because of AI. That I hate. The
Well,
idea
that's
of that
what I'm
happening.
saying, man. We don't need that. Like, if you can go on HBO Max and you can click create my own film and you can do this and you can watch that film, the film serves no purpose in that scenario. We don't need the ability to do that. Stories falling through the cracks is okay. I don't think every script that exists needs to get greenlit to be a movie, and that's okay. It's hard. This is a hard business. Art is hard to make. It's like you were saying, if they can stay where they are right now, where it's like he's wanting to use tools and empower creatives, that's great. But we know it's not going to stay there. Like, technology is advancing at a rate much faster than we are able to keep up with it. And this technology is going to develop into a place, like you just said, where it's going to be a guy in a studio sitting at a computer. He feeds a script into a thing, and the entire movie is generated. There's no artist required. The computer does everything. It generates the talent. It generates all the dialogue. And at that point, like, it's going to be completely cooked. But I think what we were talking about yesterday was that if you actually zoom out and you just kind of ask yourself, like, why are we doing this? Why do we feel the need to just churn out so much content and it's like there's no life cycle of anything. Everything has to be, needs to be a new movie every day. There needs to be a new show that comes out every season. It's like we as humans in America, especially, we only have so much attention, and it's like goes back to the thing of like these companies are trying to basically occupy every second of your attention. And I just don't think that creating more content and just having such a high quantity of content is what's like going to actually serve the movie industry well.
I mean, how many indie films are created a year? Like 10,000. I think on average it's like 10,000 movies a year are created, but you only really ever hear about like maybe a couple dozen.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if this will actually make that big of a difference, because like if a 15-year-old kid can just create a feature film style project on his laptop for the price of an HBO subscription, there's still the other half of the movie industry, which is marketing and distribution. That movie can be created, but no one is going to watch it except for his family and friends, because he probably doesn't have $10 million to market it to, the United States or wherever.
Yeah, but the quality of that film will be like a studio level visual effects style. And so
then it goes back down to,
he just created a movie about like a Fortnite character that does this, and like it's probably some ridiculous thing a 15-year-old would make, but it's at the level of like,
well, he could put it on YouTube and it could go
blockbuster.
viral.
Yeah, and it's like,
I mean, so what's the I guess I'm playing devil's advocate right now, because it's like, what's the difference between the millions of videos that are on YouTube right now that people make on a daily basis? It's like,
I think it would be like that. I think it would be
it would
that
just
style.
You're basically just stepping up the production quality to its, I guess it's ceiling in a sense, where it's like, this is as best as it can be, and I did it for $15 versus 150 million. But I think there's so many like complications to that, but like I think the things that make a film so great and what make films actually go viral are three things. It's the power, like it's the quality of the screenplay.
Go viral is not a good way to frame it, because like
How would you say it?
Like, what makes a good film?
So what are you measuring the success though? How many views people see it?
Not necessarily. I mean, that's a metric, but like,
what makes a movie great is the amount of people willing to watch it, in my opinion. Maybe not as much money, but like it kind of does. Money is just it's just a way to determine the value of something. So it's like, if more people are willing to watch it, that obviously means that there were hundreds of millions of people willing to pay $2.8 billion to watch Avatar, which is the highest grossing film of all time, which you could argue is the most valuable work of film out there.
Well, I think
It may not be the best film out there.
This goes into a deeper conversation because, like, I'm sure there's people out there that don't think Avatar's a good film.
Yeah.
It's like something like this is completely subjective. So, like, there's people out there that probably think Oppenheimer was a terrible film, made over $1 billion. And it's like, in film, especially like just art in general, film, music, art, whatever, it's completely based on the person's perception of that thing. And this is completely departing from this topic, but I think it kind of plays into it. But it's like, there are movies, I think, that not as many people watch that didn't have the kind of financial success that are still good movies. They just maybe weren't marketed correctly. They didn't have the accessibility. But I think what you were getting at was what makes a good movie. And by saying good movie, that can mean financial success. A lot of people watch it, or it can just be, I saw this movie and I thought it was really good. It's what? What are the things you were going to say? Because you were about to say it.
Screenplay, the talent, and the marketing.
Yeah.
I think if you have all three of those, then it's gonna result in a financial success and probably a really good reviews as well. Because obviously,
well, and
there's
who's
gonna be
who's telling the story, who's directing it.
Yeah, but I mean that goes into the screenplay, I think, as well, because it's like screenplay is part of directing, is part of executing the screenplay. So I mean, and directing the talent, or really hiring the talent to play the portray those
Specifically,
characters.
this is so basic, film 101: script, talent, director, marketing. But all four of those things are extremely hard to. It's hard to get them all going. And even there are movies where you would think, oh, they hit all four of those things and it's a flop, or people hated it, or it's just not very widely
Yeah, but
acclaimed.
I can't think of one that's hit all four of those and is a flop. Like, I think there's different levels to it. So like the Anora film, for example, just won like a bunch of Oscars. It had a $6 million production budget. I think it was another 6 or 7 million marketing budget, and it won a bunch of Oscars and it grossed like 70 or 80 million dollars. If it would have had a $50 million marketing budget, would it have made 10 times that? Like, we don't know. Because I think when it comes to the marketing dollars, it's really just like a tool to amplify the awareness of your film.
But you're just changing out the numbers, though. They already 20 times their budget. So why would they spend 10 times their budget on the marketing? You usually maybe double it.
Well, because it's not a matter of if you're doubling your production budget, it's how much money does it take to tell 320 million people in America that this movie exists. That's what it's like a scale. It's like, how big is your boulder that you're throwing in the ocean? You know, it's like, how big of a splash is it going to make? You know, it's like a $10 million budget the size of a baseball and a $50 million budget the size of a boulder. It's going to make a bigger splash. Just more people are going to know about it. It doesn't mean your film's going to be better or gross higher numbers. It's just you're paying for more people's attention just to let them know that the film is out there. And I think that's where people get the marketing confused. But I was just curious. I was like, you know, they did double, or they did basically match their production budget for their marketing, and they made that amount, which is a great return. But I just had the thought, what if their marketing budget was like $30 million and they marketed to the entire world like some of these other big box offices do? You know?
It's probably just like they didn't know it was going to be a success. I mean, looking back, you'd be like, oh, yeah.
Well, they probably didn't have $50 million to spend on it.
It's like looking at it, you would never think, oh, we should 6 times our $5 million film
Yeah.
for marketing. It's just they probably didn't think it was gonna win an Oscar and be like this famous film. But wow, we really got off topic on that one. Let's I think we're probably done, but I think we both agree kind of where we stand with it is like this is a great tool. And for us, I don't think we're ever going to be people that want to or are comfortable with just clicking a button and a whole movie is generated, because
there's something beautiful about the process of making a film.
it's a collaborative journey with a lot of people coming together to make something, and that whole thing eliminates so much of that. So but I don't know, maybe robots are, I asked ChatGPT, are robots gonna take over the human race? And let me just tell you, it was getting a little cagey and kind of avoidant of my questions. So it was willing to dialogue. Maybe that's a separate video, but yeah, I think that's kind of where we stand. This conversation obviously is ongoing. Every week there's a new story about this. The technology is advancing so fast. So if you guys have a story that you heard about that kind of maybe hits on any of the topics we discuss in this extremely long episode, let us know in the comments, or send us a message about something maybe you think about the topic, and we will see you guys in the next episode.